I'm Jeanette, VP of Marketing at Hounds, here at the NAED Marketing Summit in San Antonio. And today I am talking to Kim Downs from Schaedler Yesco Distribution. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm super excited about this summit because we are going to be talking about marketing. And you're the Director of Marketing and Business Development. So tell me, what does that mean?
So what that means is that in the end, I'm ultimately responsible for driving sales for our company. I have a fabulous team behind me, and we work hard to listen to the voice of the customer, develop strategies that make sense, and really try to help them make solid decisions about who their distributor partners are by understanding that we're here to help them, not just sell them.
And tell me a little bit about your company.
So Schaedler Yesco has been in business for over 100 years. Last year was our 100th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Very busy year, but we've changed an awful lot, as you can imagine, in that 100 years. From a mom and pop now with 29 locations in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and New York. We have 3 distribution centers, and we are constantly on the move. We're constantly changing and making updates to our facilities, trying to build in better services that help our customers, because we recognize that there's labor shortage and there's challenges out there in the field, and it's more than just product. It's helping them succeed and be more competitive in the marketplace so that they have the opportunity to win those bids.
Yeah, that's actually something that I talk about a lot because we do polls inside of Trade Hounds, and one of them was asking our tradespeople, contractors, like, what is your biggest priority when you're picking a distributor? So, like, why do you pick one distributor over another? And service and reliability, and the people at the distribution branches or the supply houses that's always what they bring up. Very rarely do we hear people say it's because this one's cheaper than the other, and that service component is so important. So tell me, what are you and your team doing to make your service better than the other distributors?
Well, I think most importantly, we're listening to them, right? We could all sit here as marketers and try to guess what's important to them. So it's really important to actually ask, and that's one of the things that we do a good job at. When I first started with the company, we used to do these really long surveys that had probably 75 to 100 questions on it, asking about everything from their experience in the counter to turnaround and all that. And you know what? It's too much. We had the same customers filling out the information. We weren't really getting what we wanted because it was the same people all the time filling it out. So one of the things that we started doing a little differently this year is micro surveys. So on a much more frequent basis, we're doing surveys asking 1 or 2 questions that can be filled out on a phone, voice to text, and we have gotten a lot of great feedback. And that's really one of the reasons why we are developing a lot of the things that we're doing. Of course, we have face-to-face between our sales leadership and customers and our sales teams and stuff, but I think if I had to boil it down, voice of the customer, that's the most important thing.
And what are some of the polls or the surveys that you've been doing that you found really insightful recently?
Recently, we have been in development of several new services that we are in process of launching. And one of the things that we started doing was saying, hey, how likely are you to use this type of service? But it's more than just teeing up the things that we want to hear, right? Because that doesn't do anybody any good. It's asking, okay, so what other pain points do you have? And we're not looking for a dissertation from customers, but we just want them to say, you know what really is a pain in the neck is X, Y, and Z. And if I had somebody who could help me with this, that would be helpful. And we're not just asking about things that are traditionally something that an electrical distributor would help them with. We're just saying in general, what causes you angst? And I think that that's really important. Anybody's customers want to feel like they're being heard by their partner, whether it's something they can directly affect or be the conduit to finding a solution. So that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I do feel like the relationships between distributors, manufacturers, tradespeople, contractors has kind of become more of a partnership, and people are looking at it a little bit less of like a hard sell and more of a mutually beneficial relationship. You speak a little bit to your experience with that.
Yeah, it sounds cliche when you say, oh, it's a partnership because everybody says they want to be your partner, right? But really, what it comes down to is customers just want to know that you've got their back. They can trust you, you're reliable, you're not going to leave them in the lurch when something goes wrong. And, of course, everybody does the relationship building activities and things like that. But in the end, you have to be a good partner or you're not going to keep the business. That's another huge part of it. Listen to them. I'm going to repeat that over again because I really think that that's a big key to it. Listen to your customers and then walk the talk.
And how is that changing now? In recent years, we've had a lot of evolutions with technology, with social media, social selling, buyer expectations with Amazon. How has your approach to marketing shifted as a result of those changes?
Well, I'd lie if I said that, there are days that I'm just like, I don't know what I need to do next, honestly, because we're kind of in the middle, right? We've got the tenured crowd starting to move out and some of the newer crowd moving in. So we're in between. We've got the tried and true block and tackle kind of tactics that we always did. And then we have to learn some new approaches and tactics and so it's I think it's we're still squarely in the middle. We're not definitely all hands on deck for that high technology approach yet. You still need to have some touch and feel kind of tools, whether it be an in-stock guide or a brochure, something that can pique interest, and then scoot over to the technology side where you can really give them all the information.
Yeah, one of the big themes of this conference and a lot of the conversations that marketing people have with each other in this industry is the amount of platforms, the amount of tasks that you have in a day. The omni-channel approach is just
Absolutely.
growing and growing. What are some of your favorite omni-channel strategies or some of the initiatives you're working on now to make sure that you could reach people in all of those different places, whether they are old school or maybe a new apprentice coming in with much different buying expectations from one another?
Well, I think the most important thing first is to determine who the audience is, right? Because not everybody absorbs information the same way. So if we're talking to engineers, that's going to be a different approach than if we're talking to, a smaller electrical contractor, for example. But we still use a little of everything from your handy dandy flyer to TVs in our counters, but then we're also using geofencing and, of course, all the social tools that are out there, yours included. So it really is a little of everything, and it really depends on what our overall goals are and who our audience is.
Yeah, one of my favorites is the social listening part of it. Mm-hmm. Like that is something I've always been interested in, but I think it's becoming a lot easier now, even though I know we feel like we have
Right.
so much to do and marketing is just expanding and it's exciting, but it's a lot to do. But I feel like the social listening part for me is maybe like one of my favorites because people are complaining, they are praising brands, they are sharing what they think online, and if you can find those communities where people are sharing things about your company, it helps you listen in maybe a different way than you were used to listening with surveys or focus groups.
Yeah, absolutely. And early on, a social media or a digital marketing specialist was a very tight box of what they did. And today, like you mentioned, the social listening and all the different tools they have available to them and all the things that we as departments have available to us to get our message out and to do that listening and to do that brand building. It can be overwhelming at times. And when I was in school, we didn't learn that. I'm old school. I've had to learn it the last several years, and it's really valuable to have some of the new folks coming into the marketing world having a lot more tools available to them and be able to integrate some of those things that they've learned that maybe I didn't have direct, experience with 30 years ago.
It's crazy. Even for me, I started like before social media was really big, and I think the biggest constant is the amount you have to adapt to the new technology and
Yeah.
to new forms of selling and new forms of reaching people in different ways. So, what are some of your favorite new things that maybe you never had the opportunity to do before because the technology just didn't exist?
Well, I'll tell you, I mentioned geofencing already, and that's one that we've been using a lot more lately. It works for very specific purposes, though. It's not an all-inclusive kind of tool. But we really like that because we are able to target folks very specifically in specific locations, and we've had success with it.
Can you give some examples of like how that works for you?
So if we are introducing one of our new locations and we want to fence in areas of our competitors, our ads will pop up when they are browsing other websites because they're part of that fence. They've walked into that competitor's fence. We've also used it for promotions too. When they walk through our door, the other websites that they go on, they'll see an ad maybe for one of those things, just reminding them that, hey, we've got it, when you need it. So that's certainly just a smaller part of the big picture, but all the tactics that we're doing, having that added on is just that little extra nudge when we're trying to close the sale.
Yeah, another interesting part about distribution is your relationships with manufacturers.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for marketing and how that relationship
important.
works. Can you speak a bit to that?
Sure. So, being part of organizations, we have formal, like NAED, we have formal programs where we meet with our vendor partners. And that's one of the things that we really enjoy a lot because we get to understand what are your goals as the manufacturer, and let's talk about what our goals are as the distributor so that we can collaborate and build campaigns together. I find that when we do that, they're more supportive, both with content as well as financially, because we're in it together and we have our sales teams tied in, and we have all the dots and all the crosses, and we're together moving in the same direction. So it's super important that distributors have that strong partnership with our manufacturers.
Yeah, and I see a few of them around here. I've been
Yeah,
running
absolutely.
into lots of like different manufacturers and distributors, and the event is just getting started, so it's starting to get a little loud and exciting. And so it's nice to be able to like see your friends that you kind of
Yeah.
get to work with.
Well, I'll have to tell you, we do a huge event at Schaedler Yesco. It was every other year. Now we're doing one every year. It's called the Schaedler Yesco Expo. In fact, we won a TED for it 2 years ago.
Congratulations.
And all our manufacturers love it. It's a way to bring everybody together. It's a huge event. Customers all come in. They all get to see each other. They are building relations directly with our customers. We have training. It brings the sales aspect, the relationship building aspect in play, and it's great for us and it's great for the manufacturer. So that's one of those tried and true kind of things that I don't think we're going to get away from, despite how digital our world gets. There's nothing that's going to replace that one-on-one conversation and really spending time with somebody to learn about them and their business and their challenges and how we can help them.
Could you speak to how you do work with your manufacturers to amplify your messaging, or like what part of your marketing initiative is tied to that relationship?
Well, it varies again by product. It really depends because there's no size that fits all, right? Depending on what the product category is and what the manufacturer goals are and our goals. If it's Siemens, for example, we work very closely with the Siemens team so that we make sure that our folks, our sales folks, and the sales team on the manufacturer side are working hand in hand together, and we work together on campaigns, and we really we value the input that we're getting from them, and it makes the message stronger when you have the manufacturer behind it. It's not just us saying, hey, we've got this load center over here, we think you're going to like it. But when the manufacturer is involved, they can help support the message by bringing some of the technical expertise to the distributor message, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Would you like to share some examples of what type of campaigns you've worked on with your manufacturers?
We have been working with a number of our manufacturers on some campaigns that include elements, that include digital elements, that include some paper, brochures, flyers. We've kind of gone back to some of the old snail mail techniques. Everything digital is loud these days. Everybody is overwhelmed with emails. So we're trying to go back and look at some other tactics that we haven't tried in a while, and see how those work too. So we're working with our manufacturers to develop these campaigns that run for 6 to 8 weeks, and then move on to the next thing, so that we make sure that we give the love to all of our different manufacturers.
And what else are you hoping to get out of this event?
I love this event because I have made so many friends who are peers, whether they're competitors or not. We just have a good time, and we talk about the things that we're doing. A lot of time we talk about what our challenges are and things that we wish we knew more about. And because I have no problem, even after this event, calling somebody up and saying, hey, we saw this there. I've been thinking about it more, and I know you said you were using this tool. How's it been working for you? And I've made decisions about a number of different tools based on the feedback from my peers.
And what are some of those challenges you're experiencing now?
Well, and I think challenges may not be the right word, but just learning new technology. I mean, AI is on the top of everybody's list right now. How does that fit into marketing? And I mean, it fits into all different areas within distribution, let's be honest, from order entry to e-commerce and recommendations to, you name it. And so, especially when you don't have a gigantic marketing team, how do you bring some of these new tools into your in-house marketing department and still do all the things that you have to do, right? So it's nice that we can bounce ideas off each other and just say, this is what worked well for me, and this is this not so much. So that's really a big part of what this event is for me, and why I'm fortunate that Schaedler Yesco invests in me to come here so that I can learn from other industry experts.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Anything else that's on your mind this week?
I think one of can we talk a little bit about your marketing teams? Like about the people who work on the marketing team? I just want to kind of give a plug to those folks.
Yes.
We've just spent a whole lot of time talking about how important these new technologies are. And as I already admitted, I don't know a lot about them. They weren't around when I was coming up through the industry. So I think it's so important that we hire in some of that expertise, and that we give our teams time and leeway to help them learn, so that they can be the next gen of marketer, right? Because just like our customers, I'm over there looking like retirement's not that far away for me. So I think it's important to give our teams the tools so that they can come up with the expertise that's going to be needed in the future. And we need to invest in those folks, absolutely.
Well, it was such a pleasure talking to you. I'm
Thanks.
excited to spend the week with you and hear a lot of really good
Me
sessions this
too.
week. So thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it. I hope that we learn a lot about AI this week. Excited about it.
Among other things.
Among many, many other things. I'm so looking forward to it. So thank
Great.
you again so much for your
Thanks.
time.